Hi everyone, welcome back. This week in Level E, we're going to be working on lessons 113 through 116. You'll need worksheets 85 through 88, A or B, the Casio calculator, the geometric solids, the calendars from appendix page 6, the math card games book, the appendix page 14 from the math card games book, and 4-hour hands, which can be found on that appendix page 14, or you could use popsicle sticks or pencils or something like that. And then you need the multiplication and basic number cards. In lesson 113, we will be working with changing weight units, addressing the terms ton and kilogram, and solving capacity problems. The warm-up questions are on worksheet 85. After correcting those, have your child look at the tables and answer the discussion questions. Notice that despite the fact that there are only 2 problems on this worksheet, plenty of calculations are being performed when your student is filling in the tables. Let's look at both of the problems on this worksheet.
So Ryan has a bicycle that weighs 15 pounds and his car weighs 200 times that much. How many pounds does his car weigh? All right, so we have 15 pounds times 200, and that gives us 3,000 pounds. So if we look at the chart that your students just filled in, we can make the conversion that 3,000 pounds, 2,000 pounds is a ton. So how many tons does the car weigh? It weighs 1.5 tons. Okay, so for problem number 2, each little centimeter cube weighs 1 gram. So 1 cube equals 1 gram. And 100 cubes come in a package. So how many packages do you need to weigh 10 kilograms? Well, 10 packages equals 1,000 grams, which is 1 kilogram. So we need 100 packages to equal 10 kilograms. If you wanted to add another step in here to figure out how much a package weighs, so if there's 1 cube to 1 gram and there's 100 cubes in a package, so that would weigh 100 grams. So then 10 packages would weigh 1,000 grams and 100 packages would weigh 10 kilograms. So that extra little piece of information there might be necessary for your student to see.
Okay, once that worksheet is complete, ask the in conclusion questions and play multiplying 3 one-digit numbers game, which is P36 in the math card games book. Okay, for lesson 114, we will be working with changing time units and introduce the term elapsed time and millisecond. Once again, the warm-ups are on the worksheet, so once those have been completed, have your child look at the tables, and all those tables have to do with time. Go ahead and ask the discussion questions and learn something new about the metric time system, which I didn't know. A calculator may be used to help fill in the tables. So if you want your child to use the calculator, this would be a good time for that. We can take a look at the 2 problems on the worksheet.
Okay, so for problem number 1, it says that Kenna spends 5 hours a day in school, Monday through Friday. How many hours is that in a week? How many hours during a week is she not in school? So the time in school is 5 hours times 5 days, right? So we have 25 hours. And then how many hours are in a week? Right, so we have 7 days and that's times 24 hours. So we have 168 hours in a whole week. So the time not in school is 168 minus 25, which gives us 143 hours. So 143 hours when Kenna is not in school. Okay, for the second problem, we have Des had a job for a year, 52 weeks is in a year, except for 2 weeks of vacation. So she worked 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. How many hours did she work in a year? So it's the 8 hours times the 5 days, which gives us 40 hours in a week. And then 40 hours times 50 weeks gives us 2,000 hours. So this person, Des, works 2,000 hours in a year. Now you might be looking at this and say, okay, well, my student cannot multiply horizontally like this. You would have to write it out 40 times 50. That may be true, but you could also have them look at it this way. What is 5 times 40? Well, 5 times 4 is 20. So 5 times 40 would be 200. And we have this 0 over here that we haven't dealt with yet. So my answer is 2,000. So that's a pretty easy way for your student to work horizontally.
Okay, so once that worksheet is complete, ask the in conclusion questions and play before the hour game, which is C30 in the math card games book. If you don't want to pull the clock out of the math card games book, that's what's on appendix page 14, and then have to cut out the hour hands, you could just keep the clock in the spiral bound book and then use something else as the hour hands. So I would use popsicle sticks or short pencils or crayons or something like that to replicate the hour hands. Lesson 115 does have 2 corrections. So if your book was printed before December 14th, 2019, please check the link that I will leave in the description to find out what those corrections are. In this lesson, we will make line plots and solve problems using information from a line plot. So let's look at that warm-up information first.
Okay, so let's just look at this example of a line plot. So the warm-ups are talking about what a line plot is and that it's a way to keep track of numbers of categories. Okay, so here we have Katie, Gemma, and Sebastian, and they all planted potatoes. So Katie planted 3 bags of potatoes. Gemma planted 5 bags of potatoes, and Sebastian planted only 2 bags of potatoes. So this is what the line graph would look like given that information.
Of course, you could use anything to demonstrate what a line graph looks like. So it could be colors, it could be flowers, it could be anything that you or your child wants to categorize. Now you will review what constitutes a year and how leap year works. Go ahead and recite the poem, which is 30 Days Has September, with your child and ask the discussion questions. Have your child work through problem 1 on the worksheet. That's worksheet 87. Your child will need the calendars from appendix page 6. When you get to problem 3, if you don't have the geosolids, you could use bowls, jars, boxes, etc. to demonstrate diameters. Once the worksheet is complete, ask the in conclusion questions and play before the hour game, which is C30 in the math card games book. Okay, so for lesson 116, this is a review and game day. So go ahead and ask the oral questions on the review sheet and then have your student complete it. After any errors are corrected, you can play Find the Two Factors game, which is P29. There is a blog about this game at the Right Start website. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. If you'd like to review lessons for problems that your child missed, let's go ahead and look at those corresponding lessons. Okay, if your child missed the first oral question, go ahead and review lesson 33. The second one, review lessons 4 and 19. The third problem, review lesson 33. For the write the answers questions, review lesson 113 for problem 1, review lesson 77 for problem 2, and review lesson 7 for problem 3. For the multivide, if your child is struggling with multivides, we've been doing those as warm-ups occasionally. And if your child is still struggling with it, I would break it down. I would do just a little bit at a time and have them actually check, not only use check numbers to check their answer, but maybe also even use a calculator to check their answer. Now, you'll have to keep an eye on that because they're going to want to use a calculator for the entire thing, that's not okay. We want them to be using, their brains to solve that problem. But if it is a struggle, I would break the problem down a little bit more and maybe stop after 4 calculations and check or something like that. If you want to review how multivides work, then you could look at lessons 69 and 79. For the basketball question, review lessons 78 and 85. For the cranberry juice question, review lesson 112. And the same for the orange juice question, review lesson 112. Okay, that's all for this week. I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.